Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the 56th installment of The Bobby Kudo Show. How about some Robert Plant, some Jimmy Page, John Bonham, and of course, John Paul Jones, Led Zeppelin, off their debut album, Led Zeppelin, 1969. Good times, man. And bad times. Welcome. Ooh, good stuff, right, guys? Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the 56th installment of the Bobby Kudo Show. Thank you, Led Zeppelin. Thank you. Oh, it was fantastic, wasn't it? I love it. I love me some Led Zeppelin. I always tell my kids, greatest band ever, right? I hope you agree. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the 56th installment of the Bobby Kudo Show. I know it's been a minute, but in all fairness and all due respect, I've been busy, between the Disgruntled American podcast, working on that, of course, with Steve and Joe. And I've been working on a couple of side projects as well. I did a guest appearance on the Fearless Now podcast with Sam Led. So make sure you go over and listen to that. I expect by the time this releases, that one should be out there. So please make sure you go over and support Sam in the Fearless Now podcast and give that a listen, because you won't be disappointed. There's a lot of personal... really, honestly, to be quite frank with you, not many people ask me a lot of questions. Typically, on the show, I'm the host and I'm asking the questions. So it was a little different to have somebody asking me how I felt and some of my ideas and thoughts and what the future looks like for me. So please go over there and give that a listen. So, how you doing? Right? How's everybody doing? Are you doing all right? Because quite honestly, things are kind of shitty. Yeah, I have to admit that. Normally, you guys, you listen to the show, you hear me come on here, and I'm typically full of piss and vinegar and inspiring and telling you it's all great. But, quite honestly, a little different message today, a little different message this week. Listen, just for the record, I didn't record it all in the month of June. We didn't, as far as the Bobby Kudo Show goes, I didn't record any episodes or any content for the show. But, really, the whole time that I'm away from the show, the whole time that I'm not recording, I'm always thinking. I'm always thinking of different ideas. And, the worst part about it all is finding the time. I always tell you guys that I think time is probably our biggest enemy. You always think you have time. You want to fit in the fun. You want to fit in the work. And, of course, the most important things in life always come first. And, of course, as I always tell you guys, I have a full-time job and a family. So until I can find a way to make the Bobby Kudo Show cover my costs and expenses in life, I unfortunately have to go to work every day. But, it is what it is. And, it's nothing to be concerned or upset about. But at the end of the day, we all have to do it. And if you can find a way to not do that and do something else, by all means, do it. Enjoy your life. Do what makes you happy. Because, honestly, and I think this is going to be an honest episode, nobody gives a shit. And I think that's really the message today. I think you need to put yourself in check and realize that no one really gives a shit. You would like to think that, everybody around you is like-minded and cares about your success and cares about your better fortune. But in reality, and again, I don't take this the wrong way, but it's every man for himself. Obviously, key number one is taking care of you and making sure that you've got your responsibilities in line and that you're meeting expectations in your responsibilities in your life. Outside of that, why would, don't take this personal, but why would you give a shit what I think? And quite honestly, why would I give a shit? And why would you give a shit? Really, we care about our friends and we care about our family and we always want to see people succeed. But do we take this to an extreme? Do we take this to another level? Do we think that by injecting our thoughts and ideas that we change someone's perception or their thought process and maybe their success and, with the way that they perceive what their future looks like? you're only fooling yourself. I mean, as a parent, you can raise your children, you can give them direction, you can try to get them to follow the way, but ultimately, there's each and all of us. There's a direction. Each and every single one of us. There's a direction inside us, and no matter what or who we speak to in life, it's just that that energy, that direction is always there, and it's gonna guide you. And sometimes, it may take you into a place you may not want to be, and that's going back to that whole Neanderthal, you know what I mean? The Neanderthal, the caveman, the saber-toothed tiger instinct, you know what I mean? That instinct inside you that inherently is embedded in all of us, all humans, the idea of self-preservation, and a lot of times, given today's circumstances, we're not hiding from saber-toothed tigers anymore. We're not hiding from these unforeseen dangers. Yeah, let's call them dangers. We now, you go to work, you come home, you leave the house, you do your thing, obviously with the exception of, our own societal issues. Inherently, typically, most of us aren't being chased down by a silverback gorilla and beaten to death. You know what I mean? We are typically, usually, our own worst enemies. And going back to my original point and saying that, look, nobody gives a shit. And if you continue to think for 1 second that someone cares enough that it will make a difference in your life, that's very rare. And in most cases, when you're in those kind of environments and in those situations, it's a pity party. You're typically feeling bad for yourself. You're typically blaming others for a lack of or a failure of your success, right? And that's easy. That's real easy. There was a time where if you didn't succeed, you would go hungry. Today, that's really not the case. Today, there are many ways that you can continue to sustain an existence, whether it be welfare, whether it be government assistance, whether it be family members, whatever that may be. But at the end of the day, you're not doing it on your own, right? You're not succeeding on your own. You're not winning your own success. You're not earning your own financial security. I think that's fair, right? So that's a little bit what I wanted to talk about today. And of course, opening up with Led Zeppelin. I mean, you can't beat that, right? You can't beat that. So I hope you're all well. I hope everybody's doing great. It's been quite the month, actually, since the last time we spoke. I've been completely engulfed in the Disgruntled American podcast. Really getting into that and diving into that podcast and the creation of that show, working with Steve, working with Joe, and trying, obviously trying to take that to the next level. Would I like to take the Bobby Kudo show to the next level? Absolutely. But I think, the success of the DAP really is inevitable. It's I think it's already on its way. I think the success behind that show, and I think the personalities that support that show, I think it's one of those like a spark of light, right? Just that spark of light where somehow you come together, you meet the right people, and you've got chemistry. And that's what we have. So I invite you all, if you're looking for some fun, obviously some fun, but of course always factual, go over and listen to the Disgruntled American podcast. Give us a listen over there. And then let me know what you think, right? Because obviously you can hit me up at thebobbykudo@gmail.com, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. I mean, I'll be quite honest with you. Twitter's on the pretty much on the burner. I very rarely go into Twitter anymore. I think I've gotten to a point now where I really don't care what's on Twitter because it's pretty much poison. Maybe you like Twitter. Maybe you enjoy Twitter. Me, I've literally found no use for it whatsoever. It really is a platform for, excuse the expression, millennial brats who want to whine about whether or not anyone else gives a shit about what they have to say. And I've mentioned it in the past, and I've mentioned it on many episodes that, the idea that you think for 1 second that I need to respect you is a problem in and itself. I think, obviously inherently we all want respect from people. Me, myself, I like to think that the Bobby Kudo, the name, the brand, that, I carry respect and people know me. And, when you recognize that name and you know that, okay, this is a brand name, this is a recognized brand, and I feel safe, I feel comfortable, I know that it's true. There are a lot of just mishap and half-assed and self-proclaimed blue check marks all over Twitter. There is no gain. There really is no gain. I'm all about, guys, listen, the reason why I do this podcast is because I'm all about success. I'm all about moving forward. I still work. I still have a job, but I do this because why? Because it's my passion. I love doing it. It breaks me out. It takes me out of my shell. Normally in public places, you probably wouldn't even know I'm there. I'm not the loudest guy in the room. I'm usually the quietest guy in the room. Unless you give me a couple of drinks, then it's a different story. But normally, in most circumstances, I don't speak unless I'm spoken to and unless I have something to say. With that said, does that mean that because I have the ability or I have the platform, I should say and can say whatever I want? Well, probably. Does it mean that that everyone is going to agree with what I say and go be on board with what I say? No, of course not. And really, if that was the case, then we're not living in a free country or a free society of thinking. We're living in a fishbowl, right? And we're all doing the same thing. With that said, I really wanted to get this message out to you because more recently than ever before, the idea that someone needs validation, the idea that you might need validation, the idea that I might be seeking validation, I think ultimately at the end of the day, I think it is toxic. It's toxic to you. It's toxic to the people you're trying to, get that redemption or that validation from. Ultimately, I think if you're looking for respect from people and you're looking to find yourself in a situation that you can compete at an equal level, I think that you just need to be you, right? I think you need to be who you are. I think you need to feel who you are. And I think that's who the world needs, right? Is that fair to say? That's who the world needs. The world doesn't need a fake Bobby Kudo. The world doesn't need a fake you. The world needs a real you. Otherwise, nothing will ever get done. Think about that for a second. If you were to think that by placing yourself in a category, right? Let's just say a category. And that in that category, society has decided that that category of people is less than. They're less than. They're not able, right? They're not able. They're not conscious. They're not intelligent enough. They're not smart enough. They're not intellectual enough to participate in this conversation, right? Imagine that exists. People love to be victims, and people love to live in that victim space because ultimately, at the end of the day, no one expects anything from you, right? And if you do something, people are really surprised. Oh wow, look at Billy. He actually got up out of his chair. Well, thanks a lot, Billy. But did you make a difference? Did you make a change? Or did you just get out of the chair, make a comment, say something derogatory, and then go hide behind your desk again? Because that's what Twitter is, right? Isn't that what Twitter is? I mean, literally. You know what the funny thing is, guys? I love history. I'm into politics, and I kind of see a lot of these things, and I do a lot of research, obviously for the shows. And you know what I find? And listen, I'm not telling you nothing you don't already know, but I always find that the AOCs of the world, the Lori Lightfoots of the world, these are the people that say the most outrageous things, like literally outrageous things consistently. And even though they know it's not true, because listen, these are senators, congressmen, they are privy to information that you and I will never ever be privy to. So they know the truth. They already know the truth. When the AOCs of the world come out and they make these ridiculous statements and comments about Puerto Rico and how the United States hasn't supported Puerto Rico, that's literal lies. Those are lies. Those are not true. Like, she is lying to you. But the fact that she's saying them is what generates the noise. That's what generates the tweets. That's what generates the conversation. And she's on CNN and she's on MSNBC and she's on Fox News and she's just spewing lies. And the crazy thing about that is that there are two people. There are the people that actually believe what she's saying, right? There are the people that believe what she's saying. And then you have the polar opposite of people that are like, look, you're full of shit. I don't believe a single word you're saying. You talk about energy, you talk about fossil fuels. I mean, she just came out with that ridiculous statement about Texas and how Texas has, renewable energy. Guys, it wasn't that long ago. Texas was frozen. Nothing worked. They had no power. They had nothing, right? So you have a whole state that's decided that they're going to go renewable, and it just doesn't work. Do I think, obviously, one day? Yes. I think the way technology moves, 20 years from now, can we be energy? I believe that. I think 20 years from now, we won't even be having the discussion about fossil fuels. I think, honestly, we will be completely renewable. But that takes time. It takes time to get there. You know, guys, do you remember the first iPhone? I mean, seriously, we're 13 iPhones in, right? They're already talking about the iPhone 13. Do you remember what the first iPhone looked like and what it had, what its capabilities were, as opposed to what you're able to do with the iPhone 13? Right? And normally and typically, I'm going to blow your mind, and typically they release an iPhone almost every year. So within the span, let's just say, I'll give them credit, let's just say 15 years, right? The lifespan of the iPhone in 15 years. Look at the iPhone 3G, which is the first one that was released, and you look at the iPhone, we'll just say the 12, because the 12 is out now, but 13 is coming. Look at the capabilities that new device has in comparison to the first one. And it's no different with renewable energy. The first wind turbines, the first solar panels, they're not as efficient. But as we move on and the technology gets easier, then we become more efficient, and then we can get to that point. But when you have people lying to you and making statements and just throwing things out there on a platform that quite honestly shouldn't even exist anymore, that's where it gets very dangerous. So I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy attacking, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, because I use them. Obviously I have friends and family, and I love to communicate, and I love history. Like I mentioned earlier, I love pictures. And so I enjoy going through that and seeing the progress and success and happy, good times that my friends and family and fans of the show are having. But that doesn't give me the right to go on those platforms and say things that are just not true, right? I can have an opinion. You can have an opinion, right? We can all have an opinion, and we can share those opinions. And I think that's the idea behind Twitter, right? You have an idea, you throw it out there, and then somebody's like, oh, well, that's a good idea, or that's a bad idea. Here, I can make it worse, or here, I can make it better. But it's not that. That's not what it is. It's literally become this festering pile of toxic poison. It's a literal well. It's a well. And people keep dumping their bucket in there, and they keep pulling water out, and they keep drinking from this well, and they become more and more poisoned. And I tell you the truth, if we don't get away from this, it's only going to get worse. It continues to get worse. I mean, in all reality, when you think about it, anyone, put yourself in this situation. Anyone can say anything about you on Twitter, and there is nothing you can do about it, right? What are you going to do? You're going to tweet back? You're going to reach out to Twitter and say, hey, I'm offended by this comment or offended by this statement? Do you think they care? Do you think they want to help you? The answer is they need it, right? They love it. You go back to, and regardless of whether or not you're a Trump fan or not, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. Let's forget who Trump is, and let's just look at him as a human being. And you look at what they did to him as far as, suspending his account and then banning his account. And, they could do that to you. They could do that to you. People make me crazy because they were like, oh, yeah, he was, red man, and he did this, and he said that, and he said this, and he said that. Yeah, he said all those things. But they were all true. Guys, none of it was a lie. Everything that he wrote on Twitter was absolute truth. But yet, he was suspended, right? He was banned. Meanwhile, you've got the AOCs of the world who can say whatever they want to say, right? They say whatever they want to say. They spew whatever they want to spew. And they're still on the platform. How is that okay? Again, regardless, let's not talk about who these people are. Let's just put them as they are people. They are Twitter users, right? 2 Twitter users. One was tweeting truths, and one is tweeting lies and continues to tweet lies. But yet the one that's tweeting lies still exists, and the one that was tweeting truths, who was obligated by the Constitution to speak truths, and they're banned. They're banned from the platform. So I just warn you. I warn you all to really take a look at that. Look at your social media. Where are you? What are you putting out there? What are you reading? What are you consuming? Is it real? Is it true? Because there's a lot of fake lies out there. And they will continue to do this. They will make you think. They will make you think that you're in the now, that you're in the know, and that everything, no, but you're not. Because it's not true. It's just absolutely not true. So if you live your life in that social media world, if you want to talk about Facebook real quick, we can do that. Let's talk about Facebook real quick. And although I find Facebook not much better than Twitter, I do find it that there is more of an element of people. I find that people who are on Facebook almost own it like it's them. Like, this is my Facebook account. This is me. So remember we talked about that, the brand, the who I am. I think with Facebook, you have that. Even though Facebook does a lot of, they do a lot of censoring, right? Whether true, false, whatever it is. That's another argument. But ultimately, I think the Facebook user, the person, is very cautious about their profile because that's them, right? There's only one Bobby Kudo, right? I could go back on Facebook and I can create maybe another account, but I'd probably have to spell my name different. Right? So nobody wants to lose that, right? So people get kicked off Facebook and they wait, right? They go to Facebook jail and they wait and then they come back. Why? Because I think that there is some ownership there. Twitter, on the other hand, there is no ownership with Twitter, right? You can be anybody you want on Twitter. You could say whatever you want on Twitter. I can go on Twitter right now, create an account, and go on and say the most ridiculous, racist, hurtful, angry things, and nothing's going to happen to me, right? What are they going to do? Suspend my account? I'll just create another one. And then that's that poison, right? And then that poison is out there, and that poison exists, and that's what people are consuming, and that's all they're reading, right? And the worst part of it all is the people you follow are just as blank as you are because you're following like-minded people, right? Oh, okay, I agree with what this person's saying, so I'm going to follow them, right? I agree with this person's saying, I'm going to follow them. And again, I don't want to reiterate this because I know I've talked about this in the past, but when you stop and think about your profiles, when you stop and think about your social media accounts, the people you follow, they're all like you. They're all blowing smoke up your ass, just the same way that you're blowing smoke up their ass. They're doing things that you enjoy. They're doing things that they enjoy, and you both have a commonality. The challenge, guys, is this. How about you go follow somebody that you don't normally agree with? How about you go follow someone whose ideas are different than yours, right? How about that? How about imagine being in an existence, right? Like when you were in school. When you were in a classroom and you didn't know who was in your class. You didn't know who the liberals were. You didn't know who the conservatives were. You didn't know, right? Nobody knew. And then as you got to know people and then as you spoke to people and you build relationships, then you kind of see, what their idealisms are and their values in life. But in a world of Twitter, you never get that opportunity. You read a tweet, oh, yeah, I like that. I'm follow them. You see something you don't like, oh, you're a jerk, blah, blah, blah. You never follow them. What do? You go and block them. So you live in a world where you're never challenging yourself. You're living in a world where people are literally blowing smoke up your ass constantly. I take criticism on the show all the time. I welcome it because without your criticism, I don't get any better. If everybody was sending me emails and sending me messages that said, wow, man, you're the greatest podcaster in the world. You're the best. You should be out. You're better than Dan Bongino. You're better than Joe Rogan. And you should have a contract and you should be making millions of dollars. Yeah, I agree with you. Is that true? No, it's not true. It isn't. I think I do okay. I think I do all right. The fact that you're listening is testament to that. But am I on a level with them? No. Will I get there? I hope so. I'm 56 episodes in. I think, another 44 episodes? Who knows? Episode 100? Who knows where I'm at? Who knows who's sitting in the studio with me? Nobody knows. But I am working towards that. And I'm taking the criticism that I receive and I'm making changes. Why? Because that makes me better. That makes me stronger. Why do you get a home inspection when you buy a house? Why do you do that? You get a home inspection because you don't want the home inspection, right? Inspector comes to your house, looks around, blah, 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 right? Couple of hours. And then they go to you and say, hey, the house is great. The roof looks good. The paint looks nice. Everything's great, fantastic, wonderful. The grass is green. The windows open and close. The doors work. You're good to go. Is that what you want? Or do you want an inspector to say to you, hey, listen, you got an issue with the plumbing. You got an issue with the roof. You got an issue with the windows. You got an issue over here. You got this. You got this, right? That's constructive criticism. That will help you. Right? Because now you're not going to buy this house, or you're gonna negotiate that these repairs and deficiencies are completed before you purchase the home. Right? That's just, to me, that's just common sense, guys. So now apply that to the social media world. If people are telling you how great you are all the time and agreeing with all the stupid shit you say, then how is that helping you? Right? It's only stroking your ego. It doesn't mean you're right. It doesn't mean you're correct. It doesn't mean it's not like you said something prolific. It's not like you said something that's going to change the world. You just said something, and you had a bunch of bozos that agreed with you. And somehow, they give you a blue check mark for it. Me, I refuse to live in that world. I won't do it. So, honestly, guys, I do have the Twitter account. I have the Facebook account. I have the Instagram account. And, I do post on there because I want to stay in touch with you. I do have friends and family that are on those media platforms, and I want to stay in touch with them as well. But I honestly tell you that I take it all with a grain of salt. And you should do the same. I think people are really, honestly, you know what? And I think it's a generation, and it's a generation and then some. So what I mean by that is I believe the older generation they're where they're at, and I don't think they're accepting anything further than that. I think you have a newer generation that's growing with these platforms as they change. So it almost becomes like an expected kind of situation, right? Where you always expect people to agree with you, and you always expect people to tell you that you're doing the right thing. And one day somebody's going to tell you, hey, listen, you're wrong, and that's wrong. And that's where we end up with these ridiculous, right? These ridiculous temper tantrums. Seriously. I don't normally talk about situations where other people are involved because I don't like to air anybody's dirty laundry. But in this case, it was me. About a week ago, at my job, doing what I do as a manager, and there was conflict. There was a conflict. The details of the situation really aren't that important. Let's just say that somebody doing something real stupid, and as a manager, I had to address it. And never in my life, as being a manager, well over 20 years, have I ever had someone react and become as combative as this individual did just because I was correcting their behavior. Now, mind you, you listen to the show, you know me well enough. I do it with class. It was really, I was prepared to have a conversation somewhere along the lines of, hey, you know better. But this individual didn't even give me that opportunity. Not that I knew this person, but they were employed by the company. And when I approached them to address this situation, they absolutely went off the deep end. They threatened my life. They said things to me that, to be quite honest with you guys, I don't want to sound corny, but it broke my heart. It did. It broke my heart because I've been in a leadership role for a really, really long time. And I've always made it my number one priority and objective to take care of staff, my employees, the people I work with. Why? Because I remember being in situations where I needed leadership and they were not there for me. And I remember that feeling of wanting the help and the assistance and just not having it. I always said to myself, man, if I ever get into a position of leadership, man, I'm going to make sure that I always come through, right? I'm never going to leave you out there. I'm never going to leave you out in the rain. And I've committed to that. This individual was enraged. They were enraged. I've never seen anything like it. Like, honestly. And given the situation of what it was and the circumstances of what it was, completely and utterly over the top, right? No way should this individual come at me with such an aggressive nature. Just to put it lightly, if it wasn't for the intervention of another individual, this individual was going to physically attack me. Being in the space that I am, being the person that I am, I walked away from the situation. And, I got to be honest with you. I probably would have, I would have rather have gotten a punch in the face than walk away with the disgust that I felt after that individual was screaming at me. Because it was completely unnecessary. And I wasn't prepared for it. Because that wasn't the space that I was in. I think, you speak to each other with respect and dignity, and people will hear what you say. When you're yelling and screaming and you act like a maniac and you threaten people's lives, nobody's listening to that. But that's a society, guys. That's who's out there. And unless we address this now with our young ones, with our kids, with our grandkids, with our families, long story short with that individual, and I'll put a kibosh to the story. The individual lost something and was quite upset that he lost it. He did find it, but he lost it. And we're talking about a credit card, guys. We're not talking about a child. We're talking about a credit card. But somehow the loss of that credit card was enough to push this guy over the edge and have him act in that manner. I mean, granted, the guy lost his job, right? You can't do that. You can't act in that way. You can't be aggressive. You can't try to hurt people and expect that you're still going to have a job. So you have a situation where this individual, had he just had a calm mind and had a conversation with me, it really would have been a 2-minute conversation and we both would have moved on. But instead, he decided to react that way. And somehow he thought that I gave a shit that he had concerns about his credit card. That somehow that I should have been sensitive to that. That somehow I should have been okay with the negligent behavior that came prior to our conversation. So that's really why I throw that out there, because that's a perfect example of a situation of you have people that are on completely different spectrums, and I think that's where we're at now. The government isn't helping, TV isn't helping, the teachers union isn't helping, Dr. Fauci isn't helping. None of these people are helping. Do you know why they're not helping? Because it's all about separation. They want to separate us. They want us to all separate, and they want us to all give a shit, right? They don't want you to care. They don't want you to care about the thousands and thousands of small children that are coming over the border, that are going missing. They don't want you to give a shit about that. But what they want you to care about is critical race theory. That's important. Oh yes. Your child is born racist. And we need to stop them. Is that not the most ridiculous fucking thing you've ever heard in your life? That a child is born racist? And you know what? And if you're listening to the show, I don't care who you are. I mean, you know what? You can come on the show and have this argument with me, because never in my life, never, ever in my life have I ever seen a racist baby, okay? Or have I ever known one? And the idea that someone would create that narrative and that people would be latching onto that idea that babies are somehow racist and that we need to indoctrinate our kids right at that young full age of 5 years old, like when they get into school. I mean, gosh, I will tell you, at my age, I don't see color. I don't care. I keep telling you guys, pick up a shovel. If I'm digging and you pick up a shovel and you help me dig, then you have my respect. Let's move on. But the idea that the separation created between us Americans right now is a fake one. It's a fictitious one. We no longer have slaves in our country, guys. No more. Slaves don't exist here. Maybe in other parts of the world, but not here, not in America. If you want to talk about slavery, we could talk about society in itself. We could talk about the fact that every single one of you is getting up every single day when that alarm clock goes off and is going to a job that you hate just so that you can pay your bills and pay your taxes. Want to talk about slavery? Every day you have to get up and go do something you don't want to do. That's slavery. Why? Because you earn a pay? That's not slavery? It is. It is. So what's the message today, guys? One, I don't give a shit. And you shouldn't either. That's the message today. The bottom line is you should move on. You should all move on. It doesn't matter. I don't give a shit the color of your skin. What I care about is you as a person. You want to make something grow? You want to be successful? You want to help the world? You want to change something? Let's do it. But if you're going to sit there and complain and blame somebody else for your problems, I don't give a shit. And that's the bottom line. And the idea that you think for 1 second that I should care is insane. It's absolute insanity. You got to care about you, right? Care about number one. You take care of yourself. You take care of the ones that you love, the ones that you're responsible for. If we all did that, then this whole notion of critical race theory, this whole notion of racism and white privilege, it's gone. It doesn't matter. Stop making excuses. All of you, everyone, stop making excuses. If you want success, go get it. It's out there. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter. And if someone's telling you otherwise, they don't care about you. They are lying to you. The bottom line is your success is yours. Your struggle is yours. No one else gives a shit. Nobody cares. I mean, I had to run and this, and I had to do that, and pick up that, and drop that, and I did this for 10 years, and now here I am. Oh, well, that's a cool story. I didn't, and we're in the same place. So why would I give a shit? Why would I care? I know it sounds harsh when I say that, but I want you to understand what it is I'm saying. At the end of the day, we cannot be controlled by the ideas and thoughts of others. The fact that I am limiting my success based on what someone else thinks or whether or not they're going to give a shit is detrimental. You are destined to fail. You will never succeed. Why? Because you're not doing it for you. You're doing it to win the gain of someone else. And you could do that your whole life. You could do that your whole life. You could try to please others your whole life and you will fail. You live the life of a hero long enough, you're going to die a villain. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. So what's the answer? I don't know. I don't have the answers. I'm on this ride just like you are. I'm riding this roller coaster just like everybody else. But what I refuse to allow, what I refuse to inherit myself is someone else's poison. I'm not doing it. If you need my help, I will help you. If you are in dire straits and need help, that's different. I'll help you. And so will the people that care about you. But if you're looking to bitch and whine and complain about how your success was limited by someone else's actions, I'm sorry. I don't give a shit. That's it. Just like you don't give a shit, right? You'll listen to this podcast, guys. I hope you enjoy all of it. You'll enjoy this podcast. You'll listen to it. But whether or not I get 10,000 listens, 20,000 listens, 30,000 listens, you don't give a shit. But I do. Right? Because it matters to me. Doesn't mean it should matter to you. And I shouldn't be mad at you because you don't care. Why would you care? Right? You're not measuring your success. I'm measuring mine. And that's the message today. Try for 1 second, guys. Try for 1 second to put yourself in a situation where you're number one. I know it's so difficult. It is probably one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do in your life. Because especially if you're a provider, if you're a caregiver, you have a young family, or even an older family, it doesn't matter. If you're the one, then it makes it real hard. But at the end of the day, you gotta let your kid touch the stove. They gotta get burnt. Because if they don't get burnt, they never know what the feeling is. I said it before in 55. Without struggle, there is no success. Period. And the only way that you measure that is by the struggle, right? Oh, I did this last year and I had all kinds of trouble and this year you did it, right? But you didn't have any struggle. Why? Because you learned all the mistakes that you made last year. You didn't do the same mistakes this year. It makes you stronger. You're stronger this year than you were the year before, and the year before that, and the year before that. And every year you get stronger and stronger. You know when you don't get stronger? When you start giving a shit about what other people think about what you're doing. That's when you stop succeeding. That's when you start to fail. Because you set your boundaries. You set your success. You draw your line in the sand, not someone else. When you've got someone else telling you what your success is and what your potential is, do you think that they have your best interest in mind or their own best interest in mind? If I hire someone for a position at work, am I hiring them for me or am I hiring them for the better of the company? Just think about that for a second, right? I'm the manager. They're going to be reporting to me, but ultimately, I'm trying to make the company stronger, right? So I'm hiring the best candidate for the job, which in turn helps me. It's actually quite simple. But you have to find that success. You have to find that line. You have to make that commitment and realize that sometimes you're going to hurt somebody's feelings. Sometimes you're going to say things that people don't want to hear. It sucks. It really does suck. And a lot of times, it's not that hard. But those few times that it is makes up for it. Because you'll work with people in your life and you'll have people in your life that can help sustain what you have going. But then there are other people in your life that excel what it is you have going, right? So the ones that just help you sustain, those are the easy conversations. The ones that are actually excelling your success, those are the hard conversations. Because it's always hard to tell the people that are working the hardest for you that they need to work harder. Or all the hard work that they did was for nothing. And that happens. It happens often. How do you take that and turn it into success? The key is that you have to care about you. You have to give a shit about you and not give a shit about what everybody else thinks about you. Is that fair? I mean, listen, within reason, guys. We can all be jerks. We can all do stupid shit in life, and we can embarrass ourselves in public places. That's going to happen, and that's a different kind of caring. What we're talking about here is personal success, personal development, and the idea that you would throttle yourself based on the ideas of someone else, and that you give a shit about what these other people think. That's where it gets hairy. And again, we could say this over and over and over again, and it won't make a difference. Put it this way. If I was to ask you this question right now, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Really? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? That's a tough question to answer, isn't it? It really is. Because who knows? I try to live in a 5-year world. Right? For me, 5 years, I think that's somewhat reasonable. You can kind of almost gauge 5 years. But then you double that. You say 10 years? How much can change in 10 years? You've got children that become adults. You've got adults that are becoming seniors. And it all happens within that 10-year window. Let me ask you this question. Where do you see you? Where are you in 10 years? Are you still doing what you're doing today? Is that what you want to be doing 10 years from now? I don't know. Seriously, I'm being dead serious. Quite honestly, guys, for me, I want to be a professional podcaster in 10 years. That's what I want my future to look like. I want the Bobby Kudo show to be viral. I want millions of people to listen to the show. I want to come into the studio and drop and share amazing content with you every single day. Those are my dreams. That's what I see myself in 10 years. What are yours? Not that you should give a shit about what mine are, but it's cool to hear it. And I'd love to hear what you're doing in 10 years. Hit me up. thebobbykudo@gmail.com. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Twitter. You don't have to use Twitter if you don't want to. And let me know. Where are you going to be in 10 years? What does that look like? And again, 10 years, if you don't take those risks now, if you have those goals, this is what I want to be, this is where I want to be in 10 years from now. If you don't take those risks now, then you're never going to take them. And then 10 years are gone by and you'll regret every minute of it. I should have done it. I should have done it. We all have that. We all have that regret. I should have done this. I should have went there. I always tell you guys that one time I could have went to that Rush concert with my buddy Jay, and I didn't go. And I'll regret that forever. Same thing with Leonard Skinner. Missed that one too. And now I'll never have that opportunity ever again, right? Those are some opportunities that are missed and gone and that I'll never get back. I wanted to get an episode out, some good news, take some time away. I got a week planned with the family, so I'm really looking forward to that. But I wanted to drop an episode and just reach out to everybody and tell you all that I miss you very much. I don't really, again, for me, this is obviously this is my medication. This is where I get to share my thoughts and ideas with you, and the idea that you guys are listening and are receptive to this. It means a lot to me. It really does mean a lot to me. So I never want to lose sight of the Bobby Kudo show, even though I'm doing other things and I'm on other podcasts. And this, to me, ultimately and inherently will always be the OG, the original. You know what I mean? This is where it all started. And I love this, and I never want to stop it. And I love sharing these ideas and thoughts with you because, to me, these are the things that are in my head. And I just know that this can help you. I really do. I know that this information can help you. For me, it's live. Whatever I'm speaking to you, I'm living it. It's my life. It's what I'm doing. And that's what I'm sharing with you. And remember, don't let that bitch voice talk you out of it. That bitch voice is always going to be there, guys. Remember the bitch voice? I think we introduced the bitch voice in episode 53. That bitch voice is the voice that's always talking you out of it. When you think, hey, no, I'm going to stay home. That's the bitch voice. If you never said no again, if you took advantage of every opportunity when someone asked you to do something, imagine what your life would be like. Imagine the experiences that you would share. Seriously, instead of sitting home, doing nothing, drinking beer, get out there, do something, see the world, share your time with somebody new. Why not? And just forget the bitch voice. Leave that bitch voice behind. You need self-love. That's what we all need. We're living in a society right now where people are telling you that it's wrong to love yourself. And I'm telling you that that's a lie. That if there was ever a time, this is the time. This is the time to love you. This is the time to care about you. This is the time to not give a shit about what anybody else thinks. I'm serious. You need this. You need this. No one else is going to do this for you. No one else is going to give a shit. No one else is going to fight for you if you don't fight for yourself. I'm not making this stuff up. It's one thing, and I know we all had that family member, right? One of us, at one time or another, either had a family member or have a friend that had a family member that, everybody constantly trying to help that person, helping, and they keep falling, they keep failing, and they just keep falling, and they keep failing, and people keep trying to help them, and they keep falling, keep failing, and they just never come out of this perpetual failure. Do you know why that is? It's because people give a shit, and they're giving a shit about people that they shouldn't, trying to help people that they shouldn't be helping. People that should be doing things on their own. People that should get up and do things on their own. But as long as there's somebody there to catch them every time they fall, then they don't know what it feels like to hurt. So are you helping people or are you not helping people? Are you taking people to the next level or are you holding them in this purgatory of existence? That's the question you have to ask yourself. It's very easy to filter the ones we love. It is. It's very, very easy to do that. It is so easy to do that. So I just put you in check real quick, because ultimately, if you don't realize that, and I know it's one of the most difficult and hardest things to admit, especially when it's a loved one, a child, a brother, a sister, and you see them and you try everything you can to help them. But at the end of the day, they won't even help themselves. So are you helping them? The answer is no, you're not. You're not helping them. You're making it easier for them to fail. And if you continue to do it, they're going to continue to fail. I always say it. If you feed a stray cat food, the stray cat will continue to come and eat the food. That stray cat will never learn how to take care of itself, and never. It knows that there's free food here and I'm going to come and get it. Keep that in mind, that you need to be in a space where you know that you're comfortable. There are times where you might need to be uncomfortable, which is normal. But for the most part, in most times, it may be the good, it may be the bad. But you need to figure that out for yourself. Exactly. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you over there. Guys, listen, if you haven't had a chance to, please go over and check out the website, The Bobby Kudo Show. If you haven't noticed or you haven't been on the site in a while, I got a Patreon. So looking for subscribers to the show. Going to be doing some new things, bringing some new elements to the show, including some giveaways, some exclusive content. I mean, I could tell you I got hours and hours and hours of content that I have on my hard drive that no one's ever heard. And I really want to share a lot of that content. And the way I'm going to do that is through the Patreon. So be on the lookout for that. If you haven't had a chance to go over and subscribe to the Bobby Kudo Show, please do so. There's some really great bonuses and benefits to doing that. And of course, Anchor FM, the Bobby Kudo Show support. If you want to go in, you can support the show there as well. It's always greatly appreciated, guys. And I just wanted to get this message again, like I mentioned before. I wanted to get this message out to you. It's been a minute. It's been about a month. Of the Bobby Kudo Show. So I just wanted to get this out there and just let you know where I was mentally, how I was feeling, what I was thinking. And these are just some of those ideas. I mean, again, I find us that we're in this, this perpetual hamster wheel right now, and anybody's afraid to say anything. And that's a problem. Nobody can have an opinion. Nobody can say something. You're afraid to say something out of retribution. You're afraid to say something because you may be criticized or called something or accused of being something that you're not, right? Because it's no longer cool to tell people that they're doing something wrong. Right? I mean, that's really the world that we're living in. It's you can't tell. I mean, guys, a perfect example. The police pull you over. It's almost like, what are you pulling me over for? Well, because I felt like it. No, because you broke the law, right? You ran that stop sign back there, right? We all agree stop signs help people, right? You ran it. You ran the stop sign. The cop pulled you over, and now you're mad at the cop because you ran the stop sign. And that's the problem. That's the problem. It's people inherently thinking that they are entitled to some type of special treatment because I'm right, whatever it is. And the truth of the matter is, you're not. You're not. And if you think for 1 second that cop gives a shit or anybody else gives a shit, they don't. If you want to make a difference, if you want to get out of that rut, if you want to stop feeling like a second-rate citizen, then stop being a second-rate citizen. Get up. Do something. Make a difference. Make your life better. When you make your life better, you're making someone else's life better. Period. It's inevitable. There's nothing you can do to stop that from happening. My success means that my family gets to live a little better. I'm not making that up. My success means that I get to live a little better. Your success means that you get to live a little better. Your success means that your family can live a little better. That's as basic as it gets. But I think that roadblock, that I give a shit roadblock, is something that you just have to plow through. You can't live in that world wondering and being concerned about what other people think. So that's pretty much the episode today, guys. I really hope that this message resonates with you. I hope it reaches you healthy, and I hope that all is well. Be on the lookout, guys. Listen, the Disgruntled American Podcast is on fire. Guys, if you don't know, we record every other Friday. We actually do a live show on Facebook. So if you have a chance, go in. I always put the link in the Bobby Kudo Show, unless you guys already follow the Disgruntled American Podcast. Go do that. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're on all the platforms. And listen, I invite you to check out the live show. It's an absolute blast. We have a great time. The chemistry, the participation is just, it's out of this world. And if you're not a part of it, you're missing something great. So please do me a favor and go over there and support the website, the DAP.co, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the Disgruntled American Podcast, and just send us a message, right? And we'll get back to you. But more importantly, the Bobby Kudo Show. Please go over, like I mentioned, if you haven't done so already, support the show. Apple is so important, guys. I'd love to get sponsorship for the show, but I can only do that by the subscriptions and the comments. So if you have a second after this episode, please go over to Apple and leave a comment and subscribe to the show, because it really, honestly, it makes all the difference. I mean, I'm not asking you to know all about podcasting and the logistics of it, but in this case, it's one of those situations that without your help, and I hate to ask anybody of anything, but without your help, I can't take this any further. I really need the support from you, from the audience, from the fans, to take the show to the next level. I mean, I've had this amazing opportunity to share this podcast with a bunch of great people, the Ryan Arriegas of the world, the Sam Leds. These are just great, the Gary Cabrals, and these are just great people that have been on the show. They've been guests on the show. They've shared their thoughts. They've shared their ideas, and in essence of helping one another. The fellowship of I don't want to say manhood, humanhood. How about that? Humanhood for all of us. Because it's not just guys, and it's just guys, girls, it's kids, it's everybody. Like the message is clear for everyone. Just get off your ass and do something. Do something great. Don't just be a statistic. Don't just be another number. Don't just be another asshole holding a sign when you should be out doing something that's relevant and helpful, right? Not just to you, but to everyone. That's what you should be doing. If you think holding a sign and screaming and yelling and complaining about things that don't even have anything to do with you makes a difference, then you're so just wrong. You're deluded. You're living in a world that at some point it's going to turn its back on you and you're going to be left with nothing. Nothing. Right? Oh, remember that time? That's all you're going to have. That's all you're going to have. So get past that. Remember that you are number one. Stop giving a shit what everybody else thinks. The most important thing in the world is what you think. That's what matters. This world, this earth, this planet is yours. It belongs to you. It belongs to me. And it's how we perceive and exist on it that matters. You control that. Seriously, stop and think about that for a quick second. Just in the United States alone, we have 330 million people, and you're one of those people. And this country, this world can be anything you want it to be, but you have to apply the idea. You have to give a shit, right? And stop giving a shit about what other people think. Yeah, there you go. How do you like that? Right? So once again, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Again, I always appreciate your time. I always appreciate your ear, and want to say thank you to everyone. 56 episodes in. Gee, I can't wait. I guess, I always look forward to the next one, and I've been building this one for a little while, and this one was a lot really more from the heart, guys. I just been really stewing with this thing, and I had that situation that took place, and it kind of really, it changes your mindset. It makes you look at things differently. It makes you really think about, where am I? What am I doing? And really, what is my objective? Yeah, what is my purpose and what is my objective? And that's a tough question to answer. And I'll continue to work on that. And up until then, who knows? I might be on episode 1,000 by that point. We don't know. But ultimately, I think those are the questions you need to ask yourself, and just be honest with yourself, right? I mean, we all have limitations, right? But all those limitations are imposed on ourselves. You're the only one who limits you. No one else is limiting you. Only you decide what you can and you cannot do. No one else does. And if they do, you don't have to listen to them. What do you give a shit? You don't give a shit, right? You're going to do what you got to do. What's good for you. There you go. That's me applying the I don't give a shit method. So once again, everybody, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you on 57. Make sure to say hello to all my friends, Sam Led over at Sam Led Consulting, my friend Gary Cabral at Whitecare Realtors. Please hit up Gary. And you guys, again, you can hit him up through Instagram. You can hit him up through Twitter. You can hit him up through my Facebook account. I'm connected to him everywhere. Even if you have any questions, guys, just send me an email, and I will make sure I connect you with Gary for all of your real estate needs. And then with that said, everybody, thank you so very much for being here. Always remember that all roads lead here.